Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome and thank you for attending, and we greatly appreciate it. I am Siobhan Andrews, student president of the new University of Arizona Global Campus Women in STEM organization. As an information technology student here, I am thrilled to say that the University of Arizona Global Campus Women in STEM is a student-led organization that focuses on STEM careers for women. Our club includes the UAGC Women in Technology International Chapter, better known as WITI, and the UAGC chapter of Girls Who Code, College Loop. Today we're going to talk about building your legacy. But before we can talk about that, we must define it. So what is a legacy? Well, Merriam-Webster describes it as something that is handed down from our ancestors, predecessors, or from the past. So today we're going to learn how to build from experiences of our speakers. And I don't know about you, but I'm ready to hear their stories. But before we can listen, I would like to thank you again for joining us, and I will pass it over to our officers to introduce themselves as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Carey Seuss, Vice President.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mayan Colden, and I am the Secretary.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yam Mitchell, and I'm your Communication Officer.
And hello, everyone. I am Dr. Karen Lynn Daniels-Ivy. I am the Department Chair of our Technology Studies organization. We are so excited about this webinar today. Oh my goodness, we are in a position to hear from a set of legacy pioneers who have been extremely helpful, beneficial, successful within their STEM walks today. One once said that your legacy grows with each new experience, and we are in for a wonderful experience today. So take notes and sit back and you will gain something for sure. This webinar is a historical gathering of legacy STEM pioneers. Thank you to all of our panelists who will be speaking on the panel today. And also thank you to the historically Black colleges and universities who are joining us today. Throughout the webinar, we'll have you to place in chat hello, so later on we can recognize you, your name, and the name of your HBCU in attending. And so without any further delay, I would like to welcome to the mic Carey, who will introduce to us our speakers for the event today. Carey, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Ivy. Again, good afternoon and welcome. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our esteemed speakers. While I share their accomplishments, Mayan will post in the chat full bios on each speaker. Our third speaker, Cheryl Mcnair, is the founding chairman of the Houston-based Dr. Ronald E. McNair Education Science Literacy Foundation, one of the several foundations that bear her late husband, Ronald McNair's name. As chairperson, she does what her husband said he wanted to do after the Challenger mission, which is teach. In February 1984, Cheryl's husband became just the second African-American to reach space, serving as a mission specialist aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger. Ronald McNair was a crew member of the Challenger's final flight on January 28, 1986. McNair's legacy endures through various programs that bear his name. Founded in 1996, the Dr. Ronald E. McNair Educational Science Literacy Foundation encourages students from kindergarten through college in areas of STEM. Cheryl McNair is known for her work on NASA, Triumph and Tragedy, and Challenger, the final flight. I hope you're looking forward to learning from our speakers as much as I am. I now pass on the mic to Dr. Karen Ivy.
Thanks, everyone. And thanks for all of the background on our excellent speakers for today. I'm going to pass the mic over to Mayan.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining Women in STEM. Next, we have Mrs. Cheryl Mcnair.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you so much for inviting me to be with this esteemed panel. Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much. And thank you for remembering Ron as someone, as an astronaut and inspired people. And that indeed is his legacy. That's what he wanted to do, was inspire especially our youth, that they can do whatever they want to do, but with a lot of hard work, and knowing that there might be some obstacles that will come into place, and to work past those obstacles. And I have been also asked to talk about perhaps my role or what I did as a spouse. And so I will try to kind of intermingle a little of how I felt and what I wanted to do as far as what Ron did and supporting him. And so I was a teacher and taught for many years, elementary school. And I also became, after Ron was accepted at the Space Center, I became actually a technical writer. I helped to write some of the books that explained how to operate the payload bay terminal system, and that operated the experiments in the middle of the space shuttle, in the payload bay of the space shuttle. I think they used my lesson plans as skills to explain which buttons and what took place in those experiments and what to do, kind of to break it down into layman's terms, because this was the era where lay people were flying in space, and where they were helping with the space shuttle, and therefore they needed writing that more lay people and people of other countries could more easily understand. And so we had a workbook that I worked on through Ford Aerospace that was also at that time working with NASA. And very interesting to talk to the scientists and then kind of break it down into layperson's terms, what to do to operate this. But getting back with my late husband, this would be so delighted by Ron. He would be so happy to know that his life could be seen as such a inspiration. This is something that he actually wanted to return back to South Carolina after his last mission to inspire, especially those in his hometown and his state, and let them know that they too, coming from any kind of background, and Ron came from an impoverished background, so that they could achieve as high as they'd like to, and not to let anything turn them back. You've heard from General Bolden about his library experience when he tried to check out a book after his school no longer had the kind of books that he needed as high a level. And so he went to the library to check that out, and that obstacle there, because they didn't want to allow him, a person of color, to get such a book. But he was able to do it. He was able to get through that obstacle, and it's been explained to you how, as well as when Ron became valedictorian of his high school class, along with being captain of the baseball team, captain of the football team, etc. He just excelled and worked hard at each of those areas. And that's what he believed. If you want to do something, you work hard at it and to the best of your ability. And when he graduated from high school, he wanted to get a degree in physics. Well, they did not allow it at that time for a person of color to study such a field as physics. And so thus he went to North Carolina A&T. And there he confronted another obstacle, kind of in his mind, one that he saw that people from other schools that were up north or had much more sophisticated equipment that they worked with and how they talked. And he began to wonder in his mind, well, can I do this? Can I read? I didn't work with that kind of equipment. I think he said the highest I did was mixing up Kool-Aid with water, and that was a challenge. But he was just being funny at that time. But his point was, he began to question whether he could indeed study physics and be successful at that. But he went to the counselor and took a battery of tests. He explained his situation to her, and she said, let's take some tests. And he did. He took those tests, and when he went back, he said, she looked up at him and looked down at the tests, and looked back at him and said, you know what? I think you can do this. I really think you can do this. And so with that bit of encouragement, he took that and worked hard. And he knew he could play a saxophone well. That was not a challenge, but he took the challenge. And he said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the challenge. And he did, and did very well. He earned his PhD from North Carolina A&T, and then off to MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where he heard even the janitors had slide rules. So he knew that the people there were so highly intelligent, and he again began to wonder, oh, I don't know, can I do this? Again, I came from Lake City, South Carolina, Little Lake City. Although I already made it through North Carolina, can I do this? Because these people have come from really big schools and all over. So, so what he did was went ahead and tried it. He said, well, I'm going to try it. And so he took the challenge again. He tried it. He did come across another obstacle, and that was the challenge of the qualifying exam. Didn't do as well as he expected on that, and got a little discouraged. But then, he said he could hear his counselor tell him, you can do this. He had worked some already with his professors, and the professor in physics said, I think you can do it. And so he, with that encouragement, again, taking the challenge, well, he got up maybe a little wounded, but he still got up, but as he described this as a prize fight. He said he got up from the ring and he got up and still came out. He said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try this again, and I'll come out slugging. And indeed, he tried it again. He said, I'm going to work a little harder, and he did work a little harder. Well, he came across another exam that was another difficult one. Again, this one didn't come out as he expected. I wanted it. And so he lay there, he said, with stars going around his head, wondering if he could really, should he really continue with this? But not being one to back away, and again, knowing that he can face challenges, and he's done that before and won. It said, I believe I can do this. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it again with even more work and longer hours. And that's what he did. And this time, later on, he was able to walk across that canvas and hold on to the side rails and say the ropes and say, I did it. I got it. I got my degree. I can take this challenge. I took them all on. And so that's what another message he would like for people to know, students especially, that you may come across challenges. Obstacles may come in your way, but work past them. Do harder work, maybe work longer hours, but try to the highest, to the best of your ability. And another thing that I found wonderful in his character, I saw that as a spouse, and in meeting him, this person seemed to be calm and seemed to have that quality that I liked, and seemed to be someone who also knew how to handle situations that were perhaps difficult. I'm talking about in karate. He believed in being well-rounded, and he could play the saxophone. He could do karate. And again, to the best of his ability, Ron became a master, a 6th-degree black belt in karate. And so I'm saying that I first met this calm man. And the next thing I knew, during the time period that I dated him, he went to karate tournaments and was a master at these tournaments. And especially at one, where he came he was the master. He had won that tournament, had fought fiercely. I was in a dance class, and this was through our church there in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And this man had finished fighting fiercely. And we were walking, I was walking towards the sidewalk. We were going towards a house where we had a dinner. There was a Wednesday night dinner party for Christians where we discussed things of the day. We discussed how, as Christians, we could solve things or what we would do. And as we walked, as I saw him in the sidewalk and we came together, a little kitten ran out from under the hedges. And Ron reached down and picked the kitten up and started stroking it. And it just showed me a very kind, a very nice side of him. And I thought, this is a nice person. This is what I like in a person. Someone who can be nice, someone who can also take care of business when necessary and be calm about solving situations. I went to his lab at MIT and saw this contraption, oh my goodness, of all the tubes that were connected together. And I thought, that is quite a brilliant mind to connect all these tubes and know what each one is going to do. And I was impressed with that, the intelligence. And these were things that I looked for in a person. And I thought that was wonderful to see, as well as when we left the lab one day and he put his bag filled with his studies, the results of his years of study there at MIT, at least 2 years of PhD studies and results and test results. One side of the car, he walked around to the other side, and we looked at the beautiful outline, the skyline of the Boston, and the Charles River was in between, and it just looked beautiful. Well, he opened the door for me to get in the car and walked around to the other side. His bag with all of his research was gone. And can you imagine how one would feel if your years of work is now gone, stolen? We didn't see anyone. We didn't see anywhere it was. He went back and checked, couldn't find it. What was impressive was the way he solved it. And that was not by screaming or yelling or cursing or being that upset, but sat in the car and thought about it. And when I looked at him, I said, well, what are you going to do? And he said, let me think a while. Let me think a while. And so by the time we reached our destination, he had thought about it and said, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I have papers in my desk home. I have papers back in the lab. My professor has some. And I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to still graduate. I'm going to rerun those tests, and I'm going to graduate on time. And so with that challenge, that's what he did. He worked hard, long hours, and indeed did what he sought to do. Indeed reached his goal. He graduated on time, and not only on time, but even with better results than he had started. So I thought that was a wonderful person. In my mind, that's really what I wanted to see and wanted to be with someone like that could solve in that type of person and then that kind of way. So I would like to just kind of start ending here, but end with a note of not only solving things, thinking that through without having problems like that, and being a well-rounded person, but also one who thought about other people, who thought about reaching back to the community and helping, and not only a person that had a physics degree and a PhD in physics, but also thought of his fellow man. And that's something else he would probably like for you to remember. And not to give up in face of adversity, just to be, continue on and be, get past your obstacles. And when he came home from working, we left from Massachusetts area, said there's got to be another place we can live that's a little warmer and easier to get around. And that's what we did. And we went to California, and he worked at Hughes Research Labs there. And came home one day. That's what it was. He came home one day and said, yeah, this was in my mailbox. And he said, it's an application to become an astronaut. What do you think? And I said, oh, well, I think that's great. Why not? Why not you? You've worked hard. You've worked to earn your degrees. You have done what you can do. You've gotten respect from people. Why not? Go ahead and try it. I think you can do it. I believe you can. And so he said, you know, I will. I'll fill this out. And so he did. And we waited and waited and we waited. And well, finally the call came, but near the end, they had already announced so many people near the end. He said, the phone rang, he answered and said, oh my, I could tell something was exciting. And he let when I heard him say, yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can do that. Yes, I can. And so he hung up and said, yes. He said that was NASA, and that was the person that's letting me know that I had been selected at least to come and as a candidate. So so off we were. Lots of people celebrating, which was so nice of them, and glad that we were at least selected as a candidate. And we went there to NASA and met wonderful people, and began his journey. First with Fred Gregory and Guyan Bluford, and we were the first three, and then Charlie Bolden was another class that came right, I think it was right after ours, and those were I'm speaking of the astronauts of color, of Black astronauts during that time period. Of course, there's just a few of us, but we were close in that we talked with each other, had good conversation, had good time, and we, as a spouse, it was an interesting time period where you knew your husband was going to be very occupied, and he was, in so many flights that he had to fly a T-38 jet. That's a jet, and get used to that, flying at speeds at that level, etc. And I was raising two children, and but that was something that was what I had to do. And and so as we progressed on, and his flight was announced, again, a wonderful time. We were so happy to have that. Ron went up once before the Challenger, and amazing. Interestingly enough, it was another Challenger mission, but Ron went up into space and then described how beautiful space was. He also was a mission specialist who operated the payload bay, the experiments in the payload bay, and deployed a couple of satellites. But he also wrote how beautiful the space looked. The Earth looked from space as he thought the Lord wanted it to be. And he said it appeared as a beautiful oasis, that it did not have divisions of people, of countries, but was a beautiful oasis, shining brightly, and much as he thought the Lord would like us to live. And so that was another message, to live together. And he had brought his saxophone on that mission as well, to send another message to people on Earth. And that saxophone, with it, he had certain songs he wanted to sing. He wanted to play rather with the saxophone, and a message that he could convey back to Earth. And that message was that one song that he played was America the Beautiful, that America had many problems, but was nevertheless still a great nation. That how do we solve some of the malice in the world? And that was by the next song he sang was What the World Needs Now. And and that is love. That's to be able to work with each other, love each other, be able to work together, and kindness. And so, and the other last part was, what can we do about that? How can we do this? And that was to reach out and touch somebody's hand and make the world a better place.
That was an awesome story, Mrs. McNair. I appreciate you telling your story about not only your husband, but yourself as well as a technical writer. You're welcome. Thank you for speaking today as well. Next, we have Ed Dwight. I want to thank you all for joining us, answering our questions, and showing us a piece of you and your legacy. So I really appreciate everything. And I'm trying not to cry because it's excitement and just hearing your story. So I am just so ecstatic about this. So thank you all for joining us today. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Lisa Sims.
Thank you, Mayan. And thank you to all our STEM pioneers for sharing your experience with us. I am Lisa Sims, the lead faculty advisor for the Women in STEM. And I know everybody has just been blessed to hear about how our panelists have persevered through their STEM careers, and that has motivated us and encouraged us to do more and to not give up on our journey. And I just want to thank them for being here, and I thank you for being here as well. And I want to encourage you to join the Women in STEM. We have 2 ways that you can do that. You can join either via UAGC Connect, or you can also join via our LinkedIn group, and I will go ahead and put that in the chat. And so that way you can be a part of our organization, and you can stay abreast of our events that will be going on, so that you won't miss exciting webinars such as this one. And then also I want to invite you to go ahead and save the date for October the 29th from 1 p.m. Pacific time to 2:30 Pacific time. We're going to have our cybersecurity awareness event, and we're going to have panelists from Microsoft who are going to speak to us about different areas of cybersecurity, such as the dark web and other cybersecurity areas that we may or may not be aware of. So I highly want to encourage you to join us there, and I will put the flyer for that event also in the chat so that you can have that and you can go ahead and register for that event. And so with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. And we once again thank everyone who attended. We thank our STEM pioneers, and we thank our attendees for tuning in and stay abreast of what's coming next for the women in STEM. And remember to continue to persevere. And even though you have obstacles, you can overcome those obstacles to do greatness. And so with that, stay blessed and stay safe. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and all of our panelists. And we want to also give a special thank you to all of our historical Black colleges and universities who attended with us today. Florida, FMU, thank you for attending, and others who may not have spotted your name in the chat. Thanks to everyone who attended, all of our panelists as well.